at least everybody knows that we're actively monitoring what are the restrictions and what's going on with it. So we're going to get this meeting starting. Alden's coming on, and we'll let him kind of start it up. Vroom, vroom.
All right. Hello, everybody. Can you guys hear me good?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great. Absolutely. So we are live today in DFW here at the Deal Maker in Dallas, out here creating relationships and providing our passive investors a double-digit interest rate outside the stock market and collateralized lending opportunities. I'm Alden Guajardo, president of Silvercrest Opportunity Fund. We've got our team here today. We're excited. And we are live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube right now. What are we even doing here today? Well, this is a almost live marketplace that we come to the table once a week with our partners and talk about our deal flow, talk about maybe people that possibly have some questions, and we invite our investors to join and contribute if they deem necessary. Quick little recap over the past 2 weeks, little house cleaning for mobile mailbox money, Win Mobile Homes, and Silvercrest Opportunity Fund. We just finished up the Alternative Asset Summit in Scottsdale, Arizona, hosted by Directed IRA. Picked up a couple new investors. So that was a great event. I've got some content that came out. Interviewed Rick DeLuca and Mike Del Pre, owner and executive director of Arizona Real Estate Investors Association. Had the Azria meeting in Phoenix. They had it on Tuesday. It's second Monday of every month where we have a booth and do interviews and all kinds of stuff. So that was the past week. And today, again, we're here at Deal Maker DFW. I've been meeting with a couple people here, a couple cool stories and insights had from attending these events. Why do we even attend these events? Well, we're raising capital, but also, lifetime learning is of utmost importance to just be on the next edge of what's coming out, understand what's going on in the local legislature and how other people are participating out in the market. And it's slim stuff out in the market right now. And we happen to have an alternative that actually makes sense in double-digit interest-bearing collateralized lending opportunities and affordable housing and second lien positions, first and second lien positions now in single family residence, where we originate as a private home equity line of credit at 65% loan to value with the new debt. So that's just kind of stuff that's swirling around in the background here today. I've got my partners here. We've got a lot of transactions currently taking place. Have about five manufactured homes. Excuse me, about five manufactured homes currently in escrow. I think we had two sell the other day and placed those notes within our fund to an accredited partner who will earn a 10% for 1 year, 12% for 3, or 14% for a 5 year term in monthly or quarterly distributions. Another four in escrow right now, as well as the 20 to 50 positions we get in second lien investments. So lots of deal flow we're currently managing right now. Takes a team, takes a dream to make it all happen. So, Jason, Mr. Roberts is here today to envelope what kind of deal flow we have in the second lien positions, and then we can talk a little bit about the deals that we just did in manufactured housing. I think we're doing our first second happened to be in Arizona. Great juicy deal. So I think we've secured funding for that actually. So we're all really excited to get that one out the way. But Jason, appreciate your time. Thanks for being on the channel today. What do we got?
well, let's talk about the one Chandler deal, I think, because that's a really good. I mean, that's a very typical deal that we get on a daily basis. That property is. You want me to share my screen?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, let me share.
That'd be James there.
Oh, hang on. Let me double check that 1 second. Okay, done.
All right.
And remember, everybody, these are active deals. We are literally looking to help you earn a return as we speak. It's a first come, first served situation. These deals, if they don't get done here, they get done elsewhere at the end of the day. So, don't hesitate to ask questions or reach out immediately at mobilemailboxmoney.com, or you can invest with Silvercrest and start performing in as little as a 30-day program.
Awesome. All right. This property is in Chandler, Arizona. You can see right there the Zestimate on this is 1.85 or 1.86 almost $1 million. This property, let me look here. This guy's got an $892,000 first mortgage at 2.7%. I believe, and you guys can correct me on this, we approved him for a $56,000 loan. I know it was more than that, but the guy wanted more. I think he wanted between 100 and 125. I don't know where we're at on that, whether we're giving him more money or not. And since this is being done, I'll let you kind of take over on this one in terms of the specifics.
Yeah, so I think we were authorizing like 110 it was that fits within our risk mitigation at 110,000 for say a 1 year monthly payment that could look like a $916 payment. Is that right? At 110 divided by 12 is an interest only payment of $916 a month in a great market. The house looks fantastic. It happens to be in our area in the Arizona market. So, super juicy deal. That was a 1 year term. We could do, excuse me, providing liquidity within the year. Why do we feel comfortable with that? Well, if we have to foreclose on the first and flip the property, there's additional return on investment for us. You as the lender have no implication within that transaction as you're just a debt partner. You're performing in a monthly payment fashion and $900 a month with a liquidity within the year or auto rollover. At 110, say for a 3 year term, we could do something creative as well, get you additional monthly payments for a 3 year lockup at a higher rate of return, and that monthly payment interest only could be $1,100 a month. So secured by literal gold out in the marketplace, loan to value, fantastic deal.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and show just I think it might help if we just kind of show them the process that we go through. Uh,
Yeah.
so obviously the first thing we do is we're going to verify that the house isn't burned down, and that it's still there. So we'll have pictures. You can see here this is just an awesome house in an awesome neighborhood. I'll just go through those real quick. That'll give you an idea. Those are the basics. But we also do a 5-point inspection. And why do we do that? Obviously, we want to make sure that there's no, significant challenges. The roof is 30 years old. HVAC system is, either not in working order or it needs to be replaced, anything like that. And so we also do that as well. Let me see if I can find that real quick. Let me get out of that, go back to that. And, where'd I go? Give me one sec. I am struggling to find get back into the file, Birchwood, there it is. Let me share this. So here is the 5-point inspection that is part of the process. And on this one, really, like I said, the goal here is just to make sure that there's no major significant issues. And so we don't do a full-blown inspection. We're looking at the 5 major systems. And in this on this specific property, the main issue you'll see right here, the significant and or safety concerns, it's all related to the air conditioner. The air conditioner needs to be serviced. It's not working properly, and the owner knows that. He lives in it. So that was something he was working on anyway. Let me get down there into that so we can see that information, just so you get an idea kind of what we're looking at. Well, my goodness. That's not it either. But it'll show up as typically it's a red tagged item, that the inspector will show us. There are some little plumbing leaks. There's, like an outlet that was tripping, things like that. But for the most part, we want to make sure that the red tagged issues are that's the electrical system. We want to make sure that the red tagged issues are uh, nothing of significance. So if this would have come back and said, hey, you need a $30,000 roof, we would not have lent him 110 or would not have approved him for 110,000. There's the moderate issues. You can see like one of the plates is missing. Just little bitty things like that if we were to have to take over this property and remodel it to resell it, you're talking about maybe $10,000, something like that, maybe 15,000. And this is now we're getting into the AC system where it's not cooling as it should. And again, the homeowner knew this. It was being serviced. I think they were coming out the weekend right after our inspector went out there. But um, you can see it's a 75-page report. It's very detailed. It covers the roof, the HVAC, the water heater, electrical, and plumbing. And so, we look at that very, very diligently to make sure that there's nothing major. And in this case, that's why, we went from a $60,000 note to a $110,000 note, because the equity one is there. Obviously, this guy does not want to lose his 2.7% interest rate on the first. His goal is to keep this house. So that's part of the process, part of the due diligence phase that we do on every one of these deals to make sure that one, we're protected, and two, our funding partners are protected.
Risk mitigated, in other words.
Absolutely.
So super banger deal. I think we've already secured funding. That's going through title. James, just to even talk about it, where are we at with that deal?
So we're under the underwriting. We're waiting for the company that we're using for underwriting. We're a licensed note originator here in the state, but because this is a new platform for us, we want to make sure that all of our licensing or all the requirements for disclosure have been approved or are complete. So the underwriting company is actually had a scheduled call with the borrower just to walk them through a couple different aspects of the loan. And so we should hear something back either today or tomorrow. Arizona has a 7-day cooling period. So even after the loan is approved to be done, there's about 7 days before the actual loan can be processed.
And I have an update on my end too. We spoke to, it wasn't me that did it, but we spoke to the homeowner, and they have ordered a brand new reinstatement letter. So usually, he mentioned it takes about 3 to 5 days to get it. And those reinstatement letters from that lender are good for 10 days roughly. So, while the originator's doing their work, and we're waiting to hear from them, the homeowner's pulling a new reinstatement letter so that we'll have an accurate number to pay off.
Yeah. The most important thing out of all this is that we're doing it the right way. We're doing a proper inspection, making sure that the loan, it's a value-based loan, it's a lien-based loan, so that we're going to go through title, it'll process through title. So there's a step-through process on everything as we go through this new process. The reason why we're actually stepping through a little bit slower, we just want to make sure we're actually acting on behalf of the investor to make sure that they're fully covered, They have their lien position, there's value in the deal, and it makes sense. So future ones will probably go a little bit faster, but it still would be the same process. We're still going to do the inspection. We'll still do the independent valuation. We'll still get the disclosures done. All the licensing will be in place and still go through title. So that protects the investor, which is a great thing.
And James, every state is different as well. Every state's got different rules and regulations. So there are different hoops. Like I know Arizona, there's a 7 day cooling off period. I think in Texas, it's 12 days. So we have to follow the rules and regulations of each state that we're doing these in. But we have this ability in what, 7, 8 states, I think, where it makes sense to lend and the law and it makes sense to do it, so to speak. So you'll see us as we talk, as we've been explaining this over the last couple of weeks. You see us do deals in North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Texas, but there are Arizona, but there are other really good states to lend in as well, that we just aren't marketing in yet. But as we scale this and raise more money, we'll be able to market. And what was that number? About 15 or 18 states that we liked?
Yeah, it was a good
Yeah,
amount.
there was about 20 states that were value-based states with less restrictions, with limited restrictions for the investor. So there's quite a few states to do it. It's just a matter of finding the right state that has the right fit to make the right return.
Right. And this is a perfect example of the typical deal that we get. This one is in Dallas, Texas. And it's like I said, it's typically folks that have a lot of equity. And so a lot of equity, I guess let's describe that as, say, 50% of the value of that property they have in equity. But they got into a bad situation, whether it was health or loss of job or whatever it was. They typically always have very good first mortgage rates. A lot of these are in the under 4%. So their goal is to keep the house. So it's a forever home for the most part. It's typically not an investor jumping from house to house. These folks have lived in it for 15 or 20 years. That's why they have so much equity. And they got behind. And so they need 15, 20, 30 grand to get caught up. Some folks, from a shorter term perspective, they need money to rehab the house. They don't have the money to fix it and flip it. They want to capture as much equity as they can. So it doesn't just have to be what we would consider a bailout loan. We have people coming to us saying, "Hey, I'd like to rehab the property because I do want to sell it and get as much equity as I can out of it." So there are multiple scenarios here where folks, have equity in their house but they just can't access a traditional HELOC. And this is a perfect opportunity for them to, one, save the property. We're all about, making sure that the law, as it goes to bailouts or equity stripping is a big word in the industry. We're all about giving that homeowner every opportunity to keep or save as much of the equity as they can. We are also about trying to make sure we protect our funding partners because you don't want to take unmitigated risks, for no reason. But that's where we're at right now. The goal is help that homeowner however we can, keep as much equity as they can while protecting our investor and putting ourselves in a position to capitalize. And I know James and Dalton talk about this all the time, but the ongoing raise of capital in the credit space right now, and you guys can talk more about that. But this is a perfect example of somebody that is about $15,000 behind. The balance on the mortgage is 146. You can see they've got over 200,000 in equity in this property as it is. They bought this house in 2012. The only issue on this one is he's going to borrow more money than than the redemption amount because he put a new roof on it, but there was water damage in a section of the garage that happened when the roof was bad. The roof is brand new, but he needs to, from a sales standpoint, he needs to remodel that house so that there's no 4-point, 5-point inspection issues. So this guy's going to borrow an extra $10,000 or $15,000 to do the repairs, and sometimes we'll encourage them to do that because if we're not sure that their income is back or that they're going to be able to make the payment, we are always telling them, you cannot go into foreclosure. You got to call us. Let us help you get the thing sold so that you keep a majority of that equity. And as long as folks do that, which a majority do because they don't want to lose, this guy doesn't want to lose $200,000. What they're gonna do is they're gonna work with us to get the house sold. So if we've already done the rehab up front, we don't have to, worry about lending him more money. We don't have to worry about. There's a lot of things we don't have to worry about in that scenario. So that's why we might lend him more money, get the rehab done. If in a year or two he solves his credit and he can get refinance in a traditional HELOC at 6 or 7%. Good for him. We did our job. He did his job. If he can't, his house is ready for retail. He can call us on the phone and say, I can't do it. I cannot afford the house. What do I do? And we say, let's get this thing sold for you so you don't lose a bunch of equity. So this is a very typical deal that we get in many, many states, primarily in the states that we do, rehabbing, fix and flip. And that's why we're focused on those areas. But there's a lot of areas that are going to make a lot of sense for us just from the lending standpoint, that we'll be bringing on board as we go along.
Yeah, and understanding that we are coming after this as a private home equity line of credit. We don't technically consider this a bailout loan, like Jason was saying. Having huge equity in the property, that should be accessible and it should be asset based. And that's what we're doing here, opposed to qualifying on their ability to repay and getting extensive, debt to income ratios and things of that nature. For us, we're not only risk mitigated, but also helping these people stay in their homes with the money that they already have at the end of the day. So, all great points.
Let's do one in North Carolina. I could do one in Georgia too. I know we did one in Arizona.
And we get 20 to 50 of these positions a month. So, depending on what kind of market you may be in personally or what markets you've been interested in, don't hesitate to reach out. If you don't see something here on this Zoom today, we have others available.
This property, let me see here. This is in North Carolina. You can see the estimate on this one is about 336. He owes 220 and has a 2.75% mortgage with a monthly payment of only 1330. He absolutely does not want to lose this house or that loan. His reinstatement, they got sick, wife got sick, they both had some health issues. Now they're both working again. They remodeled this house 4 years ago. So as of 4 years ago, the roof was done, HVAC's done. Literally needs, from a retail standpoint, not much aside from maybe a little paint touch up here and there. But he needs about $25,000 to get current. This is going to be the higher end of what we would consider, the loan to value that we would go up to. But he's got such a tremendous first mortgage and a really, really low payment. He definitely wants to keep this. Their income combined is 12 grand a month now. So this is probably a deal where we reinstate the mortgage. He takes a year and a half to fix his credit and get rid of the negativity associated with missed payments, and then he will refinance out of our loan into a traditional HELOC because their plan is to stay in this house, and because they have the income now to kind of qualified for a traditional loan once their credit gets fixed. It's a perfect scenario for them just to, hey, we're going to get you current. You're going to work on credit. That's one thing that we ask them to do is get into a credit repair program. If your goal is to keep that house, fix your credit so you can refinance and into a traditional mortgage. With that said, if they're cool making the payment, we don't care. It's hard to get these kind of returns.
Glasses for full functionality.
Hang on, we got somebody need to go on mute. Go ahead.
So, I mean, this is another very typical deal of, normally we're not getting the folks that are a month or two behind, because if you're only $3,000, $4,000 behind on a payment, you typically can access that through family or friends. you're not going to go through the full blown, lending process at that point. It gets when they're in the 10 to 15, $20,000 range, that's when we start getting interest on the PLOC program. And we see like this guy in Arizona, we're going to lend him $110,000. So it's typically going to be on average, I'd say 30 to 50, on average. But we do have, folks that have a ton of equity and they're looking to do other things. And because they have that equity, we'll lend them more money.
What's the interest rate on the first?
2.75%. The monthly payment's 1330 with a balance of 220.
2.5%. Is that free money? Basically.
I don't think we're ever going to see that again.
That walks in and hinting at the fact of a potential assumable mortgage, right? If this were to really go to the ninth hole and that guy maybe not get reestablished and not refinance, that property will cash flow. Given that mortgage rate, at the end of the day, that's like the treasure at the end of the rainbow. Pace Morby at the Alternative Asset Summit says he has $500 million in assumptions that he's acquired with low money down. I mean, that's this program right here. And obviously we're not wanting to get them out of the property. We're really in it for the passive paper more than anything. But that's, not a bad thing to pick up at the end of the day, a 2.5% mortgage if that were to go non-performing.
I was looking to see if I could find what the average rent on that house would be, but I'm only showing two, so my filters are off. Let's reset all the filters. Those are just apartments.
That rental on the Chandler house, if you're asking about, is probably a $5,000 a month rental.
We're talking about this, what's it, in the Carolinas?
This is, yeah, this is in Carolina.
Okay.
For some reason, I'm not pulling up a whole lot there, but it's probably, it'll far exceed that payment. So they're with that 1330 a month payment, up front, that thing rents for say 23, because that's a big house. Let's say that thing rents for 2400. There's positive cash flow. And again, though, because of the amount of equity in that property, they just simply do not plan to lose it. Most people will tell you, listen, if I have to get a second job just to cover it, I will do that. And those are the conversations that we have a lot of the time, because they've got so much equity. Their goal is just help me help myself kind of thing. And it's a great position for us to be in, because we're actually helping somebody save their house.
On the other side, if you do enough deals, that everyone's going to say everything they can to get back and straightened out with their mortgage. And if that's saying they're going to get a second job and saying this and that, we can take that with a grain of salt at the end of the day, as if you do enough, some of those people are not going to end up working out. And there's collateral, there's not only collateral, but equity in the property and an exit strategy. More of my point, so as we know these people, we've been in contact with them intimately about their background story and implemented, tactics or suggestions to help them get back on the straight and narrow. But if we do, say 1,000 of these at the end of the day, it's good to know that there's risk mitigation if it does go non-performing. And I think that that's reassuring, given that conversation, knowing, where we're starting at the end of the day, knowing that there's built-in factors to mitigate loss and even earn additional return on investment. I'm going to open it up lightly. Does anyone have any questions today? Shot in the dark here. So I want to remind you all that mobilemailboxmoney.com is where we post these positions. Let's see if I can just share my screen here real quick. Okay, you guys see my Facebook here. We'll go to mobilemailboxmoney.com. It's showing the website here. Someone could just confirm. Yes. Okay, great. So yeah, this is mobilemailboxmoney.com. We've got an active chat at the bottom right where Sunny Finkel, our relationship specialists and note investment educators, actually live in the chat to answer your questions. But all the kinds of deal flow that comes across here, we update this every 2 weeks, something like that, maybe even more. So if you saw something on the Zoom, it'll probably end up translating over to this site at one point if it doesn't end up getting committed to today. But that's mobilemailboxmoney.com. Today is actually brought to you by Silvercrest Opportunity Fund. It's our accredited 506C fund, providing a 1 year term at 10% paid monthly, a 3 year term at 12% paid quarterly, or a 5 year term at 14% paid monthly for our income oriented investment strategy. We actually have a portal. So if you go to our website and click the investment portal, it'll actually take you to a formal brokerage account where you'll create an account and sign all necessary documents within this portal. So all the private placement memorandum and deal disclosures and necessary documentation in order to facilitate your investment can be found right here. So just create an account and upload your ID to verify your identification. We'll need a third party verified letter of accreditation. You can actually do that in this portal for free if you don't have a relationship with your CPA or your banker. To upload 2 years of W-2s or tax returns, and it'll validate that third party and we'll get you formally enrolled in the fund. So I know that we have a couple deals that we did recently in manufactured housing and one that we actually just repossessed. So I'll just talk lightly about what that looks like. WinMobileHomes.com is the largest dealer of manufactured housing here in Arizona. That's James Guajardo, president and founder, me, partner, and Serena, our executive sales agent. We do about 75 transactions a year. So in manufactured housing in Arizona, we just have under contract pending sale by the end of this month, lot number 20 in Pueblo Mesa here, seeing here, actually, this is being absorbed into the fund. So it's already been committed to, but I think we sold it at 119.5. So I think we had reduced like $5,000 from having it on the market, hit $120,000 benchmark. And that property on a monthly payment in my acquisition, Sonny, if you could just confirm with me, what was that down payment, if you know off the top of your head?
10,000. 119.5 is the sale, and 10,000 was the down payment.
So if you don't have a mortgage calculator, do yourself a service and download Carl's mortgage calculator. But at 119.5, let's see if I can do this real quick. And I'm doing this live just on my calculator here. 119.5 with a $10,000 down payment, 10K out of pocket, ample skin in the game. They have another 2,000 in closing fees. But 10K down, 119.5. It's a 4-2, I think, or 3-2, 3 bed, 2 bath, year 2014 off the top of my head, I believe it is. Yeah, 3 bedroom, off the major cross streets of Ellsworth and Broadway at a 20-year term. That's $1,361 a month for 20 years. If you go to the summary section of your calculator and look at the total payments received on unpaid balance principal of 109,500, the total payments received over the 20-year term is $326,000, 797. Oh, sorry, $326,797.27. So over $250,000. Total interest is $217,000 on this one transaction. This is a single door that we procured out in the market, seller financed at a double-digit interest rate. And now the fund or other passive lender who acquires this note, the fund happened to buy this position at 109,500 for $1,300 a month. I mean, that's just a humdinger. Quality home off major cross streets of Ellsworth and Broadway in a gated family community, newer unit, super gem. That was lot 20. I think we just sold lot 174 in Aspenwood. Let's see if it's still up on oh, it's not here anymore. I know what's the home we just repossessed? It was lot 18 in Sunnycrest Mobile Home Park. So this home we actually sold to a buyer borrower, and they fell out of payment. What did that look like? Why did that happen? And where are we at with this? So we actually sold to a qualified borrower. They put 10,000 down. They paid 65. So the unpaid balance is 55,000. They were in the home for, I want to say, 50 days, 40 days, and them having a $10,000 down payment, ample skin in the game. After non-payment of, I think it was 40 days ago, maybe less. They actually stopped paying on their mortgage. They kept paying the lot rent, from my understanding, but ultimately got into default, and we actually formally repossessed the home from this homeowner who contractually defaulted on their loan. It's important to identify that on personal property, these manufactured homes in leased land mobile home parks have a repossession. That's a 30-day pay or quit. I'm sorry, 2 weeks pay or quit. 2 weeks notification of non-payment, 2 weeks pay or quit. That's about 30 days. And then 10 days after that, we repossess the home, get a affidavit of repossession, get the writ of restitution, have the sheriff come out and lock them out of the property if they don't cooperate. Our objective is not to take back these homes, but this individual just happened to have some hard times, tried to help them, get into another property. But long story short, our investor who bought this note got our full back office staff and bells and whistles in order to reperform this home within 40 days. So not only that, but ample loan to value. We had it listed at 75,000 right there, and hopefully, I'm sure we'll get somewhere close to that, and probably reseller finance the property at no cost. At cost to our investor who bought this note, right? And what is that cost associated with the kind of non-performance situation? Well, someone, if they don't pay the lot rent, they could have 2 months back fees in the lot rent. That's about $850 a month. You'll have your attorney eviction fee. That's $750, I believe it. So around $2,500 to $3,000. Our investor now gets the asset back, market it back for sale. This home happened to be looking good. He could earn additional return on investment from putting that property back up for sale, because the skin that the buyer borrower put in place at a 55% loan position. Now he owns the house for, say, under 60,000. Our agent will charge a flat fee to market and resale that property. It's a $4,000 flat commission fee paid to the agent. You're more than happy to list it with anybody else, but we encourage you to list it with us, as we provide full seller finance, transparency and transaction, and no manufactured housing. So what's that? That's about 5,000, 6,000 bucks in cushion, 7,000. So call it 7,000 in fees at disposition, right? With title fees, the agent's fee, the eviction, maybe 1 month of lot rent, 2 months of lot rent, 7,000, 7,500. And now you resold the property for 75,000. You had about $55,000 balance. That's 63.5, something like that. At 75,000, you made 12,000 bucks. Our investor is really just a passive investor, and we're going to put our bells and whistles on it. He just wants his monthly payment. So Win Mobile Homes will probably pick up that additional profit. But that's just a quick little walkthrough, kind of mental benchmarks and what it looks like to repossess a unit. Like I was saying with Jason on these seconds, if you do enough deals at the end of the day, one's gonna go non-performing. Our 2% default rate shows strong, knowing that our buyers and borrowers and asset-based lending is pretty ironclad. But at the end of the day, we're here as an investment, and to have that recourse and know what it costs, what the timelines are all of utmost importance. Uh, so that's kind of a couple of deals that we did the last week. We raised 1.4 million the other week, about 3 weeks ago, and another 100,000. The 1.4 was from an investor from Arizona Real Estate Investors Association. The another 100,000 was from my Business Network International, and I think I had another $50,000 lender from my Business Network International chapter. That we meet at Orange Tree Golf Course every Wednesday at 11:15. So that's like 1.56 million. That just in 3 transactions. I think we've placed a couple other passive lenders within transactions. That's close to like $2 million in the past 30 days. We're currently still actively raising, massive deal flow, lots of opportunity. We're not biting off more than we can chew. All of that's extremely important to portray out on these meetings. I just talked to a lady who saw us in a Facebook group here at Deal Maker. She saw us on a Sunrisers group. It's actually a Christian faith-based group investments, and happened to join our meeting. I think it was 2 weeks ago. She referred us a deal, and that individual lives here in Flower Mound. I think I'm going to go drive that property tomorrow. Kind of unique, but it's important to be in these rooms, be in these meetings, and take a step outside of your comfort zone. I think a lot of people fail to take a step forward, fail to do a transaction just because of lack of comfortability. And at the end of the day, if you have your due diligence checkbox and qualified operators, that should provide you sufficient comfortability within a transaction to take a step of faith. Not everything's going to be a sure thing. You have to take a risk at one point in order to earn return on investment. And that's where the rubber meets the road at the end of the day. So we do this every Thursday at 12 o'clock Pacific time on Zoom. Mark it in your calendar. Go back and view the previous vlogs, the podcasts, the masterminds. I did a couple of videos here at DFW. But we're here at 2:43 here in Dallas right now. I'm going to open it back up. Does anyone have any feedback or any questions today?
I think it's really important for people to attend Zoom meetings like this, especially free ones. We happen to be doing it for free. There's a lot of gold, a lot of nuggets that come from it. And attend or actually sign up on our site, mobilemailboxmoney.com. That's mobilemailboxmoney.com. And we'll send out a weekly email of the Zooms that go on just as a reminder, as well as any deals that we have. We'll send it out on a daily basis, kind of the deal of the day of the Zoom. So mobilemailboxmoney.com. Yeah, thank you, Anna, for putting that out.
I think we picked up a couple lists over the past 6 months, and we're actually calling other accredited partners. Our outreach is not out of, scratching at the walls or out of, a bad place. We have tremendous deal flow and opportunity, and we want you to be included. That's why we're even here today. That's why we have our staff here today. That's why we built the bells and whistles we have, because there's a available opportunity to hit a $50 to $100 million benchmark, and we would love for each of you to be included. We appreciate having y'all here today. We're going to cut a little bit short, a lot of unfiltered value provided in these meetings, and it's important to be in the room. Lifetime learning and getting with people like, and trust out in the business is of utmost importance. We'll see you next time. Appreciate you being here today, and don't hesitate to reach out. Bye.